to see what kind of costs that we're spending on vendors repairing these machines for us. And anybody care to take a guess on how much money over the last year that we spent through Jaguar and a couple other vendors? $72,000. Not even close. Anybody want to try almost $500,000? There were over almost 700 proposals. Almost every one of them at near $1,000 per proposal. So this training sort of helped us get through fixing these things ourselves. Right? What kind of common problems are you coming across? And this is anybody that you're sending out to a vendor. Anybody. So none of you send to vendors.
Water flow error.
Water flow error. Anybody else? Leaking water. Anybody else?
Coffee coming out cold.
Coffee coming out cold. Okay. So grinders lock.
Coming out too light.
Coming out too light. Okay. So most of those errors that you've just mentioned all have to do with one thing, and that's water. And that includes your error for it not heating up, because what happens when these tanks, this is a boiler that's used inside these machines. This is probably the most common part that they're replacing when a vendor replaces for us. Is there any reason why you can't replace this? None at all. It's not a hard job. Yes, it's hot. You have to turn the machine off first. Let it cool down a little bit. You can actually help it out by cooling it with a little rag. Take some of the heat off of it. And they're really not that hard to change. It takes about an hour to change it. I think all your RSMs will agree that hour's worth the money that's spent to take this out, right? So to familiarize with your machine, yourself with the machine, you should have a couple of tools that they should provide you. There's three that are very important. The first house, everybody have a service card. It's easily found. It's in the B2cup parts. This is one of the parts that is in there. You're going to have one of two codes when you use this card. My card is all zeros. Everybody else is probably 1000. So that's the two codes that they use. Mine's just an older card. I've got mine from the factory, so mine's all zeros. This card's important. You put this card inside the machine. Put your code in. It automatically gives you all your settings in here. You can actually go through, and if you go into the system settings, you can do some calibration and test. You can do you can move your brew cylinder. You can do a non-stop test. You can adjust your pump pressure in here, check your water drainage, and you calibrate your grinders. When you go to adjust your pump pressure, you know what pump pressure should be. Minimum 7.5 bar. Right here on your screen, you can see, if anybody wants to look, right here on the meter, it's showing 7.5 bar. Bar, B-A-R. What is it, barometric pressure? You can also go through, you can move your brew cylinder up and down. Make sure that your brew motor, that your automat motor is moving. You can do an output test. Basically goes through and goes all the outputs. One by one. Main water valve, your water brew, you rinse it. Now, you're going to come in here and you're going to say, rinsing milk. I don't see that. That's because this machine is an SCA1. It's used for both what we used it for right here. It's also used for a 2-hopper unit. And it's also used for an espresso machine, where they use this we use this as hot water. They use that as steam. You can use this as steam to make other drinks. And Wawa, if you'll notice, it's the same exact machine, except there's a configure just a little bit different than ours is. The most common issue on these machines for the leaking is going to be the upper piston O-ring. We do carry those. And if you look, guys, in the notes, I put the most common issues down. I did this. It's all in all the paperwork that was handed out to you. It's all right there. It tells you exactly what, as if you went down a list, you know, it's leaking. Check this, 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 and this. So I tried to make it as easy as I could. So we'll start with the first issue. Let's say that they're saying that when you hit brew on, say, regular, it's coming out just water and no coffee. So the first thing to always check is to make sure that they don't have the hopper turned the wrong way. Obviously, if the hopper's turned the wrong way, no beans go down in, it doesn't grind. Believe it or not, I've come across that. Well, actually, let's go ahead and take these off. I'm going to go ahead and get it. Always make sure that you pull them out, that you've got them closed before you pull them out. I only say this because I've done it. Get lots of beans. The easiest way to remove the beans you've got a vacuum.
Nice, man. I get him on first, bro.
This is where tool number 1 comes in. All right. If you're going to go into the grind, let's say your beans are getting here. It's not grinding or you have a grinding error. Pull the little cap off of the top of the grinder. Very carefully if you're using a razor knife. Come on. I don't want to cut myself. Yeah, I know. Okay. Pull the cap off. Knife, whoever's.
What did you pull off?
This is a little cap. It's right on top of the grinder.
Oh, that just comes right off.
It just comes right off. And it's a regular screwdriver. Phillips head screwdriver. Which I didn't bring in with me.
That multi-tool. That'll work.
That'll work. As long as it's got a screwdriver on it. Or I can go grab a screwdriver. Yeah, you wouldn't mind. Now, what the vendors have been doing, they've been changing this whole grinder, including the motor and everything. That's not necessary. There is a part number for just these grinder burrs, guys. Pull the screw, which is the spring. Yep.
There you go. How did you get that? What did you take that out with?
Screwdriver, Phillips head.
Oh. No.
And there are 3 screws right here. 1, 2, and 3 to pull these burrs out. I gotta get this thing out.
Can you show us how to do that?
I don't know. I'm gonna try. If I was a little bit taller, I probably could.
I'm gonna get you a great one.
Yeah. Thanks. What's the matter?
No, we're saying like the last one.
All right.
I think you gotta take that whole thing out, don't you?
You might have to because the screws are running through the backside. We do supply the whole grinder motor and everything, but these burrs are also available
Has anybody had to replace the burrs yet?
Have you had any jams so far that you? That's the only reason you would replace them is if you have a jam, something gets jammed in them.
Usually the motor goes out. Usually the grinder motor fails.
Yeah, and it will give you that error. If the grinder motor fails, it will give you a grinder. It'll give you a grinder. It's a grinder over amperature grinder block. The grinder block could be a couple things that I have seen where beads will get in here and block. Stupid as it is, or somebody drops something down in here. Sometimes you take and you just get your longer tool in here and you get it. Sometimes the jam is right here in between there's a cutting wire in here, by the way, guys. If you touch that, you go, oh, that's blocking it. No, that's a cutter wire. It's supposed to be in there. Yeah. I've seen people remove that before. So you can get in here and you can remove it from this side. Sometimes you can get it to go all the way through and pull out whatever's in there. Or like Mike did, pull the whole grinder motor out. Yeah. We're in the top up here. Has anybody come across where this thing cracks off and breaks? Say all the time, because that's what happens all the time. If you come into these machines and you find there's a lot of moisture and a lot of wet grounds sitting here, check to see that this is not cracked. Yeah, no, it's actually a little piece, and we do sell these. They're in the warehouse. You go to pull this off a lot of times, and when you go to pull it, it'll break. This little piece right here, it looks like a cup with a stem on it. It will crack right here. Real common issue. Real common. So make sure you look out for that. What's that?
Sometimes you see the water coming out through the bottom.
Yeah, or you'll see it just shooting a little tiny stream, and it's because there's a little tiny crack in this thing, and that could cause a major issue. So I think that last I checked, they had like 90 of them in the warehouse. So you should have one on your truck. That's probably a must carry on the truck. I think that's part of the parts list I put together. That's a must carry. Yes, it's on the list. When you do change a grinder motor and grinder, if you look, you got a basic setting on all these, all right? Make sure that when you put your new one in, you put them to the same basic setting. To do that, everybody should have this tool also. I don't ever use mine, but tells you how often I replace them. The grinder adjustment tool, part number 120, 1404. You got one? Yeah.
I might somewhere.
And if you look on a lot of these things, let's see. See, this one doesn't. You pull this cap off. On the other, some of the machines, you can pull this cap right here and adjust the grinders. Obviously not this one. You put it on the hex head and adjust it. You want right here. And you adjust it to wherever you need it. Which I'm not going to adjust these because I don't want them off. I'm not going to sit here and calibrate all these. Yes, when you calibrate the grinder, this is for fine adjustment is this way, coarse adjustment is this way.
So that doesn't change the volume. It changes the coarseness.
It changes the actual spring load of the burrs.
That changes
how fine or how coarse the thing is.
Does what now? Clockwise?
It's right here on it.
Okay.
Fine. You see the fine adjustment, and then it says coarse adjustment over here.
Okay.
Oh yeah. How do we know when we have it the right thing?
How would you know?
Yeah.
Because it's on the calibration sheet that I gave you. When you calibrate it, it tells you how to set those things. And remember, if it's fine, it's only going to go for so long. It's going to be less volume, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that something why would we need to do that?
Because you want to get back to the racetrack recipe, which are also included, that tells you how much you should have as far as weight goes on your grinds for a certain drink. Is calibration on the grinders and how to do it. It's done by weight. You have to have a small scale, okay? And what you're doing is you're measuring the grinds coming out. You stick a cup up in there, you hit the drink, and it gives you the grinds, and then you weigh them. And if it's within, yeah, so many, within a gram, you're good to go. And if it's not, you have to make the adjustments. And you can do that like 10 times over. It's a very long and tedious process. That's why we're not going through it. All right. Oh, it's on the top here. Anyone ever come out and find that this hose right here has busted? Has exploded on them? Not yet? Okay. If you go out and there is, they're saying there's a whole bunch of water going out. I've seen this a couple times already. Whole bunch of water pouring out the machine to the point where they had to turn the machine off and unplug it. Then this, you come out and you find this hose is busted. Just say it's busted right here. So you say, well, hey, I can cut that back and put it back in. The minute you do, give it about 3 minutes and it's going to do it again. What's happened is the calcium has built up inside this and has clogged your overpressure valve. The overpressure valve is there for a specific purpose. If this tank overpressurizes, you want something to let that pressure go. If it does not, then kaboom goes the tank. And that's nasty if that ever happens. But that's the reason why these hoses will bust first. And I have seen that a couple times already. So there's something to watch out for. So the best thing to do is if you're replacing this unit, if you replace a grinder motor with the grinder burst and everything, just put it right back to where this one was. Yep, just put it right back where this one was. And you should be within ballpark. That's our ballpark. I mean, it's been working at that rate now. It should go back to working that rate again. You replace, yeah, it's not going to change. What changes is as the burrs wear, then you start to have changes. That's why they're supposed to be calibrated once a year during a PM or twice a year during PM. Okay. Everyone, just for parts identification, this is called the manifold. When I speak about manifold, this is the manifold right here. This is the brew and the hot water solenoids right here.
Brew and hot water ones with.
Well, all you have to do is follow it down. This one right here is the one that goes to the hot water, the one on front. This one right here goes to the brew. You know that because you follow the red line going forward. It goes right up here. It goes right to your outlet on your hot water.
And the brew then goes into the automat.
The brew goes straight into the automat. The small line that goes into the automat's right here. Have you noticed it's the same line? Goes right straight down into the automat.
Yeah.
The automat, this is the automat right here. This whole assembly. And we're going to pull one of those. We're going to pull one out. We're going to pull the automat. As a matter of fact, we got a unit outside that we're going to pull out the automat. And we're also going to pull out the boiler. Automat is very important because that's what, okay, the automat is what takes the grinds that are pushed down to the top of it, right? And tamps them and puts his water through them for you to get your copy out here. There's small holes on the tamper, very small holes. Multi-tool, there you go, sir. Where's my camera? Yeah, a little tiny jeweler screwdriver pop it right out.
The thing that I've seen is that thing you just put back on there.
Mm-hmm.
When they open up the top to put the cleaning tablet in, that's where it goes.
Right here.
So what I've seen them do when you come and it says try and brew coffee, every grinder's blocked. So what they've done is they put the wrong tablet in there. One of the old ones they used to use for the buns.
Right.
And it didn't dissolve.
And it's blocking all three of the grinders? So everybody knows that if you haven't seen the inside of this, these are your outlets for your grinders right here. This is the front, your left, your right. And this is where the coffee grinds come out of. As it sits and grinds it, they come out of here and they go down into the automat. And what Mike's saying is they put the tab in and it comes in here and blocks all three of these. So you're not getting any grinds at all. Yep.
They do it all the time.
Do they really? I haven't come across that one yet.
They'll run out of the ones they're supposed to use, so they throw the other ones.
The other ones don't dissolve.
They don't dissolve.
They just sit there.
With 4 machines now.
So make sure that this goes back in, guys, when you put it back together. I've seen them gone before. Or I've done it myself when I go, oh crap, it's sitting there, and have to take the whole thing apart again, including all the beans out of it again, to put this back in. So make sure you put it back in when you do. Anything else up top here? I think that's basically it for the top of this thing. Your adjusters, of course, are 1, 2, and 3 for your 3 grinders. Now, on the back of this machine, small one, you have 2 screens inside these. Yes, those screens, if you look, they're the water. They're the ones that feed the water from the boiler. If you look, the water comes straight from the boiler into this manifold and goes right into your brew valve and your hot water valve.
So is that on the output of the boiler?
It's on the output. Yeah, it's water's going this way into the it's going from the manifold. It's going from the boiler up to the manifold to the solenoid, and then from the solenoid going to the brew or to the hot water.
So if you've got a tank full of line scale and it starts coming out, it's going to get clogged.
It gets clogged here. This is the first. Well, this isn't the first place, but it's one of the places it gets clogged here, and it also clogs that overpressure valve down here, which
Where's that? Is
down
that
here.
The one that
Yep, that's the one, man.
out to the right of the drain?
Yep, right down there. It drops right down. It's the check valve. There's a check valve down there. That check valve just gets full of crap.
Show us that when we get out.
We will. We're going to pull the check valve. We're going to pull the manifold. We're going to pull the boiler. We're going to go ahead and pull the boiler out, and we'll pull the solenoids.
Cool.
So that's why most of our time we're going to spend out there working on one of their machines. We don't need to pull this up because then we have to turn off the heat. We have to wait for it to cool down.
Okay.
Not necessary because it takes a little while to pull this out, and we'll show you how to do it. And we'll pull the automat from out there too, if it's okay with you guys. We'll just do that outside. We don't need power for that. To change a boiler, it takes about an hour. To pull a boiler and all the components and clean them takes 2 to 3 hours. So if you have a boiler on your truck, much faster just to go ahead and change the boiler, clean it when you have the time. Yeah, clean it, and then you're ready for the next time you come across one. That's exactly right. And that's exactly why I bought this boiler in, to show you guys that same reason. Because that's what I do now. After the first one, I don't want to clean anymore. So
see what's in that one out there. I'm curious now.
Okay, yeah, we don't know how old that machine is, but we'll take a look and see if it's got any scale in it. All right, so that's basically it from the top of this machine. I don't think we need anything else. I'm going to go ahead and put the top back together on this and put it back in service.